So this rat one you say is a nightshade rodent. This is a dire creature? Old man, what's so special about this rat? Is it because it has teeth like yours? Linley asked with a smile on his face and a look of anticipation. Dennis smiled slightly, deliberately coughing a couple of times before slowly replying, "The Nightshade Rodent. It is a type of dire creature, but it is difficult to classify by level because it belongs to a unique race. These rodent-like creatures are mainly divided into two types, the granite gnawer and the nightshade rodent. Both are omnivorous, consuming everything from stones and bones to meat." Linley nodded silently. He had just seen the black rodent chewing on a rock. Dire creatures were categorized into 9 tiers, with the first being the weakest. Beyond the 9th level, they considered all creatures. Dennis smiled at Linley and explained, "Linley, the weakest granite gnawers are gray. Tier 1 through 3 are all gray, differing only slightly in shade. At Tier 4, a granite gnawer turns silver, and by Tier 7, it becomes golden. Golden granite gnawers are at least Tier 7 dire creatures, with some reaching levels above that as well. Linley, these granite gnawers are a terrifying group because of their sheer numbers and extremely sharp teeth, which are much sharper than those of nightshade rodents. If countless granite gnawers were to attack, even an army of hundreds of thousands would likely be unable to withstand them," Dennis explained. Dennis recalled a disaster from years ago. Stone gnawers were not as fast as shadow rodents, but their bodies were as hard as steel. The higher the tier of the stone gnawer, the harder their bodies became, and the sharper their teeth. Despite their small size, they were extremely terrifying in large numbers. The soldiers' weapons couldn't harm the granite gnawers, but the creatures were able to easily overpower and devour the soldiers. Dennis sighed. Linley imagined granite gnawers swarming out like a flood, overwhelming the army and devouring countless soldiers. The thought of such a terrifying scene sent a shiver down Linley's spine. Among the 2 primary types of rodent-like dire creatures, granite gnawers are renowned for their formidable defense and razor-sharp teeth existing in vast numbers. In contrast, nightshade rodents are not as numerous, Dennis explained with the authority of someone who seemed to know everything. Linley eagerly asked Dennis, "How powerful are these nightshade rodents?" Linley, intrigued by the nearby nightshade rodent with its sleek black fur, was eager to learn more about its power and could not hold on to his curiosity much longer. Dennis explained clearly, the weakest nightshade rodent is a Tier 3 dire creature, with fur as black as night. As it advances to Tier 5, its fur turns green, and when it reaches Tier 7, it becomes purple. Some may even reach Tier 8, so they could grow to become very powerful. Linley nodded silently. Rank-wise, the nightshade rodent is on par with the granite gnawer, as long as it were trained to that extent. Dennis, you mentioned that nightshade rodents with black fur are usually in the 3rd or 4th tier. They only turn green at Tier 5. So does this little nightshade rodent fall into that category? This nightshade rodent, with its fur as black as night, was anything but ordinary. It's very fast. It can cover several yards in the blink of an eye, as one would expect from a nightshade rodent. But there's something peculiar about this, something unusual. Dennis inspected it and commented. However, Dennis acknowledged that while it was expected for nightshade rodents to be fast, it was unusual for one in its early stage to match the speed of an adult, a realization that brought a slight smile to his face. "Unusual?" Linley asked as he took a few steps forward to inspect the rodent. Dennis continued, "Indeed, even in its early stage, this nightshade rodent matches the speed of an adult Tier 4 rodent. As it matures, it most definitely will ascend to Tier 7, becoming a purple nightshade rodent. I suspect it could be the offspring of one." "The offspring of a purple nightshade rodent?" Linley asked, puzzled. "But aren't all baby nightshade rodents born with black fur?" Dennis laughed. "Linley, whether it's the purple or green type, all baby nightshade rodents are born with black fur. As they grow stronger, their fur color gradually changes, symbolizing their strength. And as we can see, this one has a few strands that are of a different color that could mean something." Linley realized, "Oh, I get it now. Old man, you mentioned that the speed of this rodent is remarkable, and by the looks of it, it is almost as if it is faster and more agile than even Instructor Hillman. But you're saying that this is only about a tier 4 or 5, when Hillman himself is a tier 6 ranked warrior. How is this possible? Linley couldn't help but sigh at the thought. Dennis chuckled. Linley, that's exactly why it's called a Nightshade Rodent. They're incredibly fast, able to outrun warriors of the same rank and sometimes even higher. These rare dire creatures, especially the Purple Nightshade Rodents, grow into tier 7 beasts. Many mages dream of taming one, but their speed makes it nearly impossible. Younger ones are easier to train, but finding a lone Purple Nightshade Rodent cub like this? That's a once-in-a-lifetime event. He gave Linley a knowing smile. Linley could easily picture the allure of taming such a rare and powerful creature, understanding why so many mages would covet a Nightshade Rodent. Linley, Purple Nightshade Rodents are the leaders of their species and can command many others. While they aren't as numerous as granite gnars, there are still plenty, and the young ones are often protected by a group. Dennis said as he glanced at the Nightshade Rodent in the distance, its sleek black fur glistening as it busily gnawed on a rock. To be so strong at such a young age, it must be the offspring of a Purple Nightshade Rodent. I wonder how it ended up in your family's estate without any adults nearby to protect it, Dennis remarked, his voice tinged with admiration. Linley agreed with what Dennis had said. Linley, since you still are not getting the hints I'm giving you, let me just ask you directly. Dennis looked at Linley with an intrigued look, his voice tempting. Regardless of why this young rodent is here, do you want to tame this little creature? These little beasts grow quickly. Even as a young Purple Nightshade Rodent, it should mature within 10 years. By then, you'd possess a tier 7 or 8 dire creature. Upon hearing this, Linley's heart raced with excitement. You mean to say that I can tame this little rodent? He asked. Yes, you could, and I can help, Dennis answered. Taming a level 7 or 8 magical creature was exceptionally difficult. However, it was much easier to tame them during their infancy. Even when taming them as infants, it depended on the type of creature. Some dire creatures matured rapidly, while others took their time. For instance, certain dragon species needed a millennium to reach adulthood, an impossibly long wait for humans. Nightshade rodents, however, were among those that grew relatively quickly. Encountering a young Purple Nightshade Rodent was an incredibly rare occurrence. After all, the more powerful the dire creature, the more they prioritized protecting their young. Although it was unclear why that little Nightshade Rodent had ended up in Linley's house, Linley suddenly found himself staring into the curious eyes of its young, the offspring of a purple one. Linley having a single Purple Nightshade Rodent is like having command over an entire army of these creatures. Dennis smiled at Linley. This is what makes Purple Nightshade Rodents more valuable than other tier 7 or 8 dire creatures. Dennis kept encouraging Linley, and being so new to the new world filled with possibilities, there was no way he was going to resist. Well, go on then, old man. Tell me, how do I tame this young Nightshade Rodent? Linley asked Dennis, his excitement evident. Dennis couldn't help but feel a surge of happiness in his heart. If little Linley can really tame this Nightshade Rodent, I'll feel more at ease. It would mean that this was not just by chance and that my assumptions were correct, he thought to himself. Dennis was well aware that he was just a spirit without any arcane energy, and even a renowned archmage without it lacked any attack power. He was unable to protect Linley were anything to go wrong, but if he did not require the protection, it could only mean great things for the boy. After spending half a year together, Dennis came to treat this innocent and determined child as his own grandson and wanted to find ways to improve his abilities. Linley, stay calm, Dennis said solemnly. Even as the young offspring of a Purple Nightshade Rodent, its speed matches that of an adult. Even your instructor Hillman wouldn't be able to catch up. You have to be careful. You simply don't have the ability to forcibly tame it, and you also can't set up a spectral pact with it. Linley stopped in his tracks for a moment. Linley's mind quickly cleared as he smiled wryly. I just remembered. To tame a dire creature, the first step is to gain its genuine submission, and the second is to establish a spectral pact. That spectral pact requires at least a tier 7 mage or warrior to accomplish. Linley couldn't help feeling a little disappointed. Unfortunately, Linley wasn't strong enough. Even if he managed to grab the young purple nightshade rodent, he wouldn't have the ability to tame it. Is there nothing I can do, old man? Linley asked, his voice heavy with disappointment and his gaze searching for the faintest glimmer of hope.
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and play